So dude, what? So many things to talk about today, so little time. Roll the intro. It's the very curious news from around the globe with the amazing Conrad. Very curious news item number 1. Did Cristiano Ronaldo cry today? Because I feel like I saw CR7 shed some real tears after he got a red card in his first game in the Champions League with Juventus, which makes me wonder exactly why he was crying. Was it because A, he was letting his team down? Or because B, now he's going to be suspended for the Manchester United game so he won't be able to play in Old Trafford again? Or because C, this was his first game back in Spain since leaving Real Madrid, and this was the only way the Spanish tax authorities could get him back for not paying his taxes, and he knew that they got him back, and that made him sad. Or because D, he knew that his biggest rival Leo Messi scored a hat-trick in his first group game, which means Messi is now 3 goals closer to catching him as the top goal scorer in Champions League history. Or because E, he thought the red card wasn't a red card and that it was super unfair because all he did was pet the head / slightly pull the hair of Valencia defender Jason Murillo after Murillo fell over while trying to mark him, which I think Ronaldo took exception to by essentially accusing Murillo of diving, which led to him lovingly touching Murillo's head. Kind of like this, oh, you're my buddy, you're my friend. Anyway, make your pick in the comments below about why Ronaldo was highly emotional. A, B, C, D, or E. Also, for my thoughts on this, it wasn't a red card. But because the referees, who were probably not looking directly at Ronaldo and Murillo during the play, well, they see Ronaldo raise his arm after the fact, and then he initiated physical contact out of the corners of their eye, and they just assume that he hit him, so they toss him out of the game, which means, why isn't VAR a part of the Champions League? If it's good enough for the World Cup, it should be good enough for this competition, because if VAR was around, I think it would have given him a yellow at best. So I hope UEFA seriously considers implementing VAR, of course, but also seriously considers rescinding Ronaldo's red card because it was pretty weak. Very curious news item number 2. At what point in his life will Neymar admit that going to PSG was a mistake? Because I think it's going to happen one day, and most likely after his career is over and he's promoting a new book about his incredible career. But still, I think he's going to acknowledge that going to the best team in France wasn't the right move. And I think that was made clear after watching his performance against Liverpool, because even though I thought for the most part he seemed up for it, he was asking for the ball in tough spots, even though he was getting crunched a lot by Liverpool, and most notably by James Milner. He was also running at players, which led to Kylian Mbappe's game-tying goal, which should have sealed the draw for PSG, but it didn't. And he was even playing some defense, even though he got skinned pretty hard by Sadio Mane in the first half. But despite all the positive actions, he looked frustrated too, because I counted a few times where he could have combined with Cavani or Mbappe or Di Maria, but instead, he tried to do it all by himself and he lost the ball, and I think that speaks to a bigger problem because it reflects that he doesn't trust some of his teammates to do the job. Or maybe he's feeling the pressure of the expectations of having to be the guy. You know, the guy that costs more money in a transfer fee than any other player in the history of the sport, so he must lead PSG to European glory, otherwise he's going to be considered a failure, or maybe it's both. And then you add in the viable argument that Ligue 1 isn't as good as some of the other leagues around the world, which hurts Neymar and his team's chances of being as sharp as they can be in European competition because they're not being challenged consistently enough. And now PSG find themselves in this current situation where it looks like, yet again, that no matter how much money they spend, they're still not going to find a way to win the only trophy that they really want to win, the Champions League. However, and this must be said, if PSG had managed to keep the final score against Liverpool to 2-2, then the narrative after the game would have been about how PSG scraped out a good result away from home against last season's Champions League finalists, which proved how mentally tough they'd become since they fought back from 2-0 down against a very good opponent despite not playing very well. And that would have led to less chatter about Neymar overall, but I still think there's a lot of truth to what I said about how he's going to feel about his time in France when his career is over. So I fully expect him to leave this upcoming summer because I think he knows, like we all know, that PSG, who, despite this loss, I still think will get second in their tough group to get to the knockout rounds, by the way, aren't good enough to win this whole competition. And he's going to need to go somewhere else to make it happen because he knows, like we all know again, that winning trophies with your club means you have a better shot at winning Ballon d'Ors, and we all know that Neymar desperately wants to win one of those. Very curious news item number 3. Dejan Lovren is being charged with giving false testimony to a Croatian court. No, wait, come on. Are you telling me that a player who said that he took Liverpool to the Champions League final and that he took Croatia to the World Cup final so people should recognize that he's one of the best defenders in the world when he's clearly not one of the best defenders in the world, is a liar? Are you? No way! I do not believe that for a second. Though in fairness to Lovren, Luka Modric was also charged with giving false testimony in the same case. So at least Lovren is in the same situation as someone who actually is one of the best players in the world at their position, but I digress. Also, if convicted, Lovren could have to serve up to a minimum of 6 months in jail, though I think the judge should consider having him go back and play for Southampton this season instead, because that sounds a lot worse than jail. And all right, that is it. That is enough for me. So let me know your thoughts on any of the Champions League results over the last few days. And if you think Neymar made a mistake by going to PSG, I kind of think he did. And of course, Dejan Lovren overall, because despite how you might feel about him, you have to respect his confidence. And then I'll see you tomorrow for previews and predictions, where I'll be giving all of you loyal subscribers, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't, a chance to win FIFA 19. Yes, it's going to be a good one, so I'll see you then. Later.